Nikki. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi,
So,
Melissa. Thanks for having me.
yes, for those of you who are listening, I first met Nikki at my 200-hour teacher training. It was held at a studio in North Little Rock, and Nikki was one of the teachers there. And she had the most powerful classes. And I thought she was such an amazing teacher because they were powerful, but not manic. They were very grounded classes, very controlled, and you still left completely soaked, sore from head to toe, wondering what just happened. And she has such an amazing knowledge of the anatomy and the body. And her cueing was also one of the most impressive things ever. I don't think she's one of the best cuers I've ever heard. She had cues of like, imagine you're driving in your car and you're going around the curb and how that feels and where you feel that. And I was like, I've never even connected these things before. So these were all the things that I was just completely wowed with Nikki and her teaching skills. So I'm really happy to have her here today and feel lucky. So Nikki, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Melissa. That's really sweet. I didn't even know that you took those things away. So it's always interesting to see what people get from your classes. So thank you for that. Yes, so I'm Nikki Cotton, and I am 47. I'll have to look in my head to see how old I am because I think I'm 48 already, and I'm not. I'm 47. I have been teaching, I found yoga when I was about 28. I was in Kansas, and it was 2001, and it was right after 9/11. I had already actually been doing yoga a little bit from videos. My very first yoga was Eric Schiffman, and it was a VHS tape that I got because I had at the time been doing a little babysitting for a lady, and she gave me a gift card to Blockbuster. Nobody's going to know what that is, but so I went and I bought a VHS tape of Eric Schiffman. I had always wanted to try yoga. I had decided I wanted to try it, and I loved it. There were so many things I couldn't do, and now looking back, it's not that complicated of a sequence that he did. But I couldn't stand on one leg. Surely could not do any kind of bow pose. Couldn't do tree pose. Couldn't do anyway. So like everybody else, I started with nothing. And had to build my way through it and just learn and grow and just be consistent. While I was in Kansas, like I said, I got the video, but actually I probably got the video in North Carolina when I was out there. And then when I was in Kansas, I got to go to live class. And at the YMCA, and they have great YMCAs there, by the way, in Wichita. And I decided I was going to try yoga class, and my first teacher, she was great. She was real sweet, a real sweet voice, and just that kind of demeanor. My next teacher was the one that I latched onto, and she was also very kind. However, she was a anatomy professor. She had just retired. She was in her mid-50s. She didn't start doing yoga until she was in her 50s, and she was a personal trainer, and she was a Pilates instructor. So she had all of those things because she had a love and a passion and already a knowledge of the body. And because of that, it just rubbed off on me. I wanted to know more. I'm a why person. You can ask my friend, Rena. It's always, but why? So I need to know the why. Like, why am I doing this move? What's it doing for me? That's how that really came about, is the thirst for knowledge. And because she was so amazing at cueing, of course, because she knew exactly what was happening in the body. And so she would lead you into something, but then give you information about it and great analogies. And because she taught all of the doctors, their anatomy and kinesiology and all those things. So she was a wealth of information, and I just absorbed it like a sponge and wanted to do more. Yoga Alliance was in its very beginning stages because this was like 2001 when I started. I was started teaching in 2002, different era, no formal training. There was training at the yoga studio that was in town, or the biggest yoga studio that was in town. It was a yoga school. So I did do training there, but I was so apprehensive about doing, we had at the time only, I think, 200-hour and 500-hour. The studio was creating a 30-hour fitness yoga program. This was long before all the other programs that were out there. And my teachers were 500-hour trained. And so I decided to try to do the 30-hour. I was going to take a little bite. So I started doing the 30-hour. And while I'm in there, and my teacher's leading the anatomy class, and she's asking questions, and I'm the only one that knows all the answers. So, and it wasn't because I studied hard or because I went and, pulled out books and stuff. It's because she taught it to me while we were learning, while we were doing yoga. And that's really, it's like, that's how I absorbed it. And then that's the kind of learner that I am. I learn better from doing something. So that's one of the reasons that I cue the way I do, is really an attribute to my teacher, Mary Jane, from the very beginning. And so after I started doing that, at the time, like I said, they just needed teachers. They needed people that weren't just I say just because I'm also a fitness instructor. They weren't just a fitness instructor that took a weekend course to go teach a yoga class. And so my teachers knew that I knew enough that I could lead their class if they needed a sub. So I started doing that, and it was terrifying. I'd never in my life thought of myself as a teacher. So it was absolutely terrifying. My very first class was hilarious to me. I wish I still had it, but I had a card, not an index card, but an actual card sheet of paper, like cardstock. And I had taken images and the names beneath them from a book that I had, and I put my sequins on that. This was not as easy back then to clip and paste on your computer and just print it off. So I copied them on a copier, I cut them out, and I glued them on a piece of paper so I could see my sequins. So that's how I did my first class ever. Everybody got great feedback, but I was absolutely petrified and didn't think I did a good job. But I did have the best compliments at the time ever, which was that people that were there knew my teacher, and they were like, gosh, the way you teach reminds me of Mary Jane. I'm like, I'll take it as a compliment. Because I was her student. So it was fantastic. And it just grew from there. I started off, working, teaching a couple of classes a week, but working at a day job in an office. And I've done office and admin work for a really long time, throughout the years, different types, whether it's been in real estate, even the trucking industry, and a lot of real estate and a lot of real estate law and stuff. And so after I started teaching, there was a period of time after I moved back to Arkansas where, which was probably about 10 or 11 years ago, maybe longer. I can't keep track of time. But when I moved back, I was like, I've got to do something different. Oh, after a period of sitting in an office again all the time, I was like, I've got to do something different. And I was teaching, but I decided I wanted to do personal training and just make it a whole big package, because everything about the body and I think it's fascinating. So I decided to do both. And from there, went on to just quitting my day job and becoming a full-time trainer and yoga instructor. And with yoga, though, it's everything to me is yoga based. So whether all movement, I'm looking at what's happening in the body, but also what's happening with that person physically, mentally, emotionally, how it's connected. Why are they having a flare up? I'm not a yoga therapist, so to speak. There are actual yoga therapists, but like I said, I started back in the day when there was really none, and that's a little bit newer thing. But I was taught and trained in that style of like a yoga therapist might be, not as intensive, but that's the style that I was trained in. A lot of Iyengar, a lot of Anusara, a lot of different a lot of different styles to look at the body as a whole and to accomplish what needs to happen for the whole person. So for me, as the whole person, it has helped me whenever anything was going on. If I've been going through a divorce, I've been through divorce, going through breakups, going through really rocky patches in my life. I just know that every single time I step on my mat, everything dissipates. It just kind of falls away. And no matter what's happening during that period of time, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, it's like the world stopped and I could get a breath, a few breaths, some deep breaths. And so that's really how it's helped transform how I view things in life, how I manage everything in my life. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. But I look at it as something that can help. It's a tool that helps me move throughout my day and move throughout life. And even now, doing it for like 20 years, it's also led me, oops, I'm shaking the camera. It's also led me into some really great opportunities with corporate trainings, being able to work one-on-one with people, but also in my online, the way I started working online, which was with a company that I work for called Betty Rocker. And it's an amazing company that's women focused. And so I'm really proud to be a part of that as well. And it was really my ability starting with yoga that got me there, because they really needed somebody that knew yoga and could do that and be their in-house yoga person. So that's kind of how that came about as well, and coaching for that company. But it's really led me down a lot of great paths, met a lot of fantastic people. Many of my closest friends are people that I've met while teaching, and some of my people I've known for the longest have been students of mine that became friends. This is like, so it's not just, it's me over here and them over there. It's we become connected and become friends and partners in this experience together. And that's something that I've always really appreciated and I love about teaching. And if I don't teach for a period of time, I actually dream about teaching. So I have found that to be true. There was one year I didn't teach, move in transition from Kansas back to Arkansas, and I didn't teach for the 1 year. And I had no idea the impact it was having on me, but I had dreams I was teaching, and it was very detailed, and I was cueing in those dreams. So, so, but that's just kind of where I've been, where I've come from, and where I am currently. So I hope that's good information for you and kind of helps in maybe the journey that you're on today.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I learned so much about you here today. It was awesome. If people want to find you, how can they locate you?
Well, that's a great question. Because I don't have a full website out because, again, this is something you find, I think, a lot too with teachers that have been teaching for a long time or teaching in person. I didn't have an online presence for a really long time. So I have a website, but I don't have the website up. I mean, I have a domain, but it'll lead you to my YouTube. So I do have a YouTube channel that you can just search me, Nikki Cotton or Nikki Cotton Yoga, and that should pull me up. I've got on my Facebook page, you can say Yoga with Nikki C and find me there. And all my links are on there as well. So you can find YouTube or Facebook. And I do, a private private, or really more like semi-private classes as well, not just with the company I'm with, but also on my own as well. So I have groups that I have weekly classes with. You could check it out and send me a message if you have any other questions about it.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. And I hope to have you on again with a different topic, maybe.
Okay, sure. Just all you gotta do is just, give me one cue, set me free, and I'll ramble off.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay, thanks, Melissa.